Hi and welcome to today's presentation. Today we're looking at Geslag, which is the same as gender in English. Okay, so typically with this, they'll probably ask you one or two questions in the entire paper, which means that you need to find a way to make this part of your general knowledge so that you don't have to study it. It just becomes one of those things that you need to get straight out of the gate. As I'm going to show you in this lesson, it is quite easy to do that, and I'm going to show you exactly how you need to study it so that you don't need to study it again. Again, because of the fact that it counts only 1 or 2 marks, if you really think about it, it counts, let's say, 10 marks for the year, because if it's asked in the first test during March, the March test, let's say it's being asked twice there. It's gonna be asked twice during the June exam, twice again during the September exam, and twice again during the year-end exam. That means that in total, you'll be earning like 7 or 6 to 8 marks from this alone. So you might as well just study it in such a way that you already know it, because this is one of those things that is super limited, meaning if you can do it on one page, you are pretty much done. Okay, let's jump in. So, what do you need to know? As I've stated, stick to general things like people and animals. This is very important because you're doing first additional language, your teacher will try to make it as simple as possible. And the simplest that you can ask this is asking the gender of people and of animals. Here I said you need to know at least 50 items from memory and study the rest. But actually what I mean is if you know 50, that's enough to go um, into the test with, because it's something that you already know. And then here it says it also fits the definition of a noun, a selfstandige naamwoord, because this is one of the identifiers of a noun. Okay. So let's quickly start off with family. So as you can see from this slide, I've made the pink part the Afrikaans part, and I've made the blue part the English part. And honestly, if you just take a minute, okay, 5 minutes, to go over this, then it's something that you already know. So I know that most of you already know pa and ma is mom and dad. But the other more traditional name for pa and ma is vader and moeder, which is the same as father and mother. The next is opa and oma, which is grandpa and grandma. Sorry about the spelling error there. And then you have seun. So the opposite of seun is either dochter or meisie. But I think your teacher would prefer it if you wrote dochter. And then in English, that's boy and girl. So kleinseun means grandson. So this is something that they can ask you because you typically don't think of what a grandson is called in Afrikaans. So kleinseun, the opposite of that is kleindochter, which is the same as grandson and granddaughter. Then you have broer and sister, which is the same as boetie and sussie, which is brother and sister. Then you have your oom and tannie, which is uncle and aunt. Then this one is maybe one that I would ask if, because I know that people don't think about great grandfather and great grandmother, but in Afrikaans that's oupa Grietjie and oma Grietjie. This one I'll ask towards grade 9, grade 10, which is skoonvader and skoonmoeder, which means father-in-law and mother-in-law. Also something that students your age don't typically think about, but this is what I would ask. Then you have skoonseun and skoondochter, which in English is son-in-law and daughter-in-law. Then you have swaar and skoonsister, which is brother-in-law and sister-in-law. People really don't learn what swaar is. That's what I would also ask if, let's say, I was the examiner for grade 11 and 12. Then you have man and vrou. This is something I expect you to know, as well as neef and niggie, which is nephew and niece. So if you know your nephews and niece as, let's say, cousins or brothers or sisters, you have to make sure that you know the difference between nephew and niece. I've seen a lot of people make the nephew to be the girl and the niece to be the guy, but it's the opposite. Then in Afrikaans, neef is the boy and niggie is the girl. Next, we have animals. So these ones, Again, you need to sit down and maybe collect like 20 animals that you are aware of and assign the gender to them. Okay, so the one that I love the most is Hanks and Mary. So this is for a horse. So I just put the animal that this gender types are for, if that makes sense. Then you have a beer and a soch, and that's for pigs. Then you have bull and koe, typically for cows, but for other animals, as you'll see down here. Then you have haan and hen, which is for chickens. Then you have a reën and teef, which is for dog. And then you have a ram and ooi, which is for lamb, typically, but can be used elsewhere. I think ram can be used elsewhere. Then maniki and Wi-Fi were applicable because if they give you maniki, then you know that the answer is Wi-Fi. If they give you Wi-Fi, then you know the answer is maniki. As a general rule of thumb, for big animals, you're going to use bull and koe. It depends on which animal they give you. And then for smaller animals, you're going to use maniki and Wi-Fi. But for most bucks, vir die meeste bokke, gaan jy ram en ooi gebruik. Okay. Other rules that you need to learn. Honestly, if I were you, I would take 5 minutes, get this under control because they love to ask these because these are outside of family members. These are the other ones relating to people. Okay, so let's quickly run through them. Again, focus during this time so that you don't have to study this ever again. So you have acteur and actrice, that's the same as actor and actress. Then you have lector and lectrice, which is the same as lecturer. Then you have redacteur and redactrice, which is the editor of a magazine or a newspaper. Okay. Next, you have koning and koningin, and that's for king and queen. That's something that's very general, which means that the chances of it being asked, it's very high. Okay. Then you have held and heldin, that's hero and heroine. And then you have vriend and vriendin, which is the same as friend. And then the one that I would ask is kelner and kelnerin. Because you go to restaurants all the time, you deal with waitresses, well, your parents do, with waitresses all the time. Might as well know what's the difference between a male and a female waiter. So in that case, the male is the waiter and the female is the waitress. Okay, then you have bestuurder, that means manager. So this will be the male and this will be the female, bestuurder and bestuurderes. You have eienaar and eienares, that's the owner of something. And then you have prince and princess, that's for prince and princess. And then you have sanger and sangeres, which is the one for singer. Again, if you take 5 minutes to quickly go through this and be sure about the spelling, you will never get this wrong ever. And as you can see, there's like a theme. That's why I put it in these blocks. This one, you add I R I S E all the time, or drisa. It has drisa at the end, mainly because the first part of it ends with K. And then that's a way for you to remember it, not that that's how it's known in the past. Then you have koning and koningin. All these ones get n at the end, and then all these ones get es at the end. So that's why I put it in these blocks for you. Okay, that's it. All you have to do is just take a little bit time in your day and just go over them and make sure that you can remember all of them off by memory, and that's all you've got to do. Okay, I hope you guys had a great lesson. I hope you learned something. If so, let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys. Bye.